Greeting and welcome to the Kern Veterans Oral History Project. My name is Liam Hodash. This is John Prince. It is the 3rd of October 2012, and we were at the American Recording Studio. And can you state your name, please?
Don Barnes,
And when's your birthday?
March 21st, 1925.
And is this your wife here?
Yes,
Okay. What wars did you serve in?
the World War II
And you were in the Navy?
Navy.
What was your highest rank when you were in the Navy?
Sonorman, second class.
What is the soldierman? What is that exactly?
Actually, Sonorman looked for submarines,
Oh, okay.
and we were not submariners. We were looking for them.
Like the radar guys?
Like the radar on the surface, ours was underwater.
Okay. And where did you go when you were in World War II?
Well, I spent the winter of 42, 43 in the Aleutian Islands, and then I came back and went to school in Idaho, and they thought they'd make an officer out of me, but it didn't work. So anyway, wound up back in the Central Pacific on a minesweeper, and spent about 2.5 years there.
Did you were you drafted or did you?
No,
enlist?
I volunteered.
Why did you volunteer?
Well, the war was on. And these people had bombed my country, and I didn't care for it.
Where were you living when you enlisted?
Ventura.
Okay. Was there any other reason why you joined other than they were attacking us?
No, it was what we did.
Did you have any friends who enlisted with you?
No, I did it by myself. I'd have my dad sign me off, but other than that,
How old were you when you enlisted?
17.
Oh, okay. How come you decided to join the Navy?
I think it was just I decided I liked the Navy. I wasn't particularly anxious to go out and march around in the mud and all that stuff, so I just joined the Navy.
Okay. How did it feel when you first enlisted and went to boot camp?
There were a lot of people just like me there, and so I was just fit right in.
Was it tough when you were in the boot camp?
No.
You thought it was pretty easy?
Well, I got beat up a little bit, but it wasn't too bad.
Like, did you have to...
Taking all the shots, and they worked you pretty good while all that, and your arms were so stiff you couldn't move. But other than that, it was, and it didn't last long. At that time, they were running people through as fast as they could get them through. And I think I was like 6 weeks in boot camp, and that was, it's unheard of.
Did you have to motivate yourself to keep going at points?
Do I?
Did you have to motivate yourself to keep going at points?
No.
Was that easy?
No, just did it.
Do you remember your instructors at all?
No, I don't. Like I said, it was a pretty short period of time, and we just get in and get out. I recall it. One of the things we did in boot camp was that we took what they call a general classification test, and I was probably as sharp as I had ever been in my life. And I mean, I was like 3 weeks out of high school, and I did quite well with it. So I got a pretty good school assignment, which was the West Coast Sound School. And I became a sonorman, and then I did quite well with that, so they decided to send me off to learn how to fix machines. So I did that, and when I got out of there, I was a second-class sonorman. It's equivalent second-class petty officer is like being a staff sergeant in the Army. And I'd been in the Navy probably 2 months.
That's fast.
And still 17 years old.
Yeah. Did you make any friends in boot camp?
Oh, yeah, but, nothing, it's all passing.
Okay.
I got along with everybody, I didn't have any fights.
When training was over, where were you assigned?
I went to the school, school of mine, or no, the sound school, and then they sent me up for assignment from, to Bremerton, Washington, and they assigned me from there up to this coastal patrol boat, which is up in Kodiak, Alaska. And this is a fun thing. I got on the Alaska liner and rode as a second class passenger from Seattle up to Kodiak. And it was a lot of fun. But anyway, I got on this ship. The guy that I replaced on the ship was what they call a chronic seasick. And he'd start throwing up when they rattled the anchor chain. So he could, he wasn't doing it, he couldn't do it. So I replaced him and they put him on shore over there. So anyway, that's where that one went.
Do you remember arriving there?
Do what?
Do you remember arriving there? What it was like?
Oh, sort of. It was cold, there was snow on the ground.
Did you, were you able to go anywhere else besides there?
I'm sorry, you speak up a little bit.
Were you able to go anywhere else besides Alaska?
Oh, yeah. When the Aleutian Islands is probably 1,000 miles long, and we escorted ships and escorted them around from, to Dutch Harbor and Adak, some of the other fun places. But that's what we did. And then when the Japanese had invaded and occupied Kiska and Attu, the people in Washington decided they didn't like the people being in Attu, so we sent a bunch of Army guys up there, and we escorted them into Attu, and they chased them out. But and then there was they thought it was a submarine base at Kiska of the Japanese, and we really watched it. But they had pulled out, and when we finally decided we wanted to invade Kiska, we went in there and there was no Japanese there. And then about that time, I got reassigned to go to school and back in the States, in the V-12 program, which would supposedly give you some college education so that you would qualify for officers candidate school. But I didn't want to be an officer, so I told them so, and they said they could take care of that, and they sent me back to the fleet, and that's where we went. I went back, got my rating back, and went to sea on a minesweeper out of new construction down in Long Beach. And we went from there to San Francisco and picked up some passengers and went to Pearl Harbor, and then we started escorting convoys from Pearl to Kwajalein and Eniwetok. And that went on for a little while, and then as the war moved west, we dropped that route and started taking convoys from the Mariana, from the Marshall Islands, which is Kwajalein, and Eniwetok to Guam and Saipan, which is the Marianas Islands. And we did that for a long time. We were probably a year doing that. And just running convoys back and forth. They would take over full ones and take back empty ones. It was a lot of fun.
Did you see any combat along the way?
The only combat that I actually saw was at Attu, and we did see some there. The ship that I was on it had a gun that could have done some shore bombardment. We didn't do it. Actually, we tried to protect the harbor from submarines coming in and all that. But that's what we did. That's what we did.
Did you have to alert the captain of any subs that you saw?
Did I what?
Did you have to alert anyone that if you saw any subs?
One time we were coming out of Saipan with came out of Saipan with some empties and we're headed back, and we got a real good sonar contact off the north end of the island, and we made an attack on it, and we had one of our contact depth charges hit something and went off. But other than that, we couldn't find anything from it. Some destroyers came out to help us, but we never found anything.
Were there a lot of casualties in your unit or ship?
There wasn't where I was. No, there were casualties. There was a terrific amount of casualties at Saipan. And we were there. Actually, what we were doing when we left that one time, that we made the attack on what we thought was a submarine. The invasion fleet for Iwo Jima was building up there at that time. And it was, and then they went on, finished up that convoy and came back with another one. Then the Marines were working on Iwo Jima, but we didn't go there.
Do you have any other memorable memory experiences?
Oh yeah, but actually being a sonarman, you're pretty high tech. At least it was high tech for the time. And so we went back for retraining, and I got pulled out. We came in the Marshalls one time, and they took me off the ship and sent me back to San Diego for retraining. And I was in just winding up that retraining thing when they dropped the bombs and the war was over. But I went out and went back, and they put me on a destroyer, and we toured the China coast, which was really pretty interesting. We started Okinawa and went up through Shanghai and up in Tsingtao, some of the other joyous places there.
Which destroyer were you on?
It was the Alfred A. Cunningham, DD 752. It was a Sumner class and the very latest. It was a good ship. They stayed out there, and they did a lot of short bombardment, I understand, in the Korean War.
Did you receive any medals?
No, I was never involved in that deed. I just, did what I did.
Your wife said something about being a mailman?
Oh, yeah. I was a mailman on the one in the Aleutian Islands, and then when I got back on this new construction ship, I mentioned to them that I had been a mailman and I was bonded. So they said, well, you're the mailman, which, that's a real fun thing, because when you come into the port, every guy on the ship is ready for you to get off and go in there and get the mail. And then when you bring it on, you're the biggest hero in the world. And it was part of it. It was if I had a fun thing while I was in the Navy, that was it. It would be just being a mailman.
Did you send or receive any letters to your family?
Oh, I wrote probably once a month. We got a letter from my folks once a month.
Do you remember any of the conversations you had with them in the mail?
No, not particularly.
What was the food like when you were on the ship or on land?
What do you mean?
Like, how was the food? Was it good? The food?
Oh, it was what you would expect. There wasn't. It wasn't gourmet by any means, but we always had, it seemed like enough. There was a couple of times that if there was anything we had a problem with on the diesel ship, or diesel-powered ship, is that you'd run out of water. And they made enough water on the ship to do the cooking and keep you alive, but you didn't take a shower. There were times when you go for a month without taking a shower.
What kind of food was on the ship?
Oh, mostly canned stuff.
Oh, okay. So there was like no steak.
No, we had. I was kind of surprised when I saw it, but then we would get a half a beef, the whole half a beef, half a cow, and take two guys to carry it on, and it was frozen, and they'd thaw out what they needed. But no, we never had steaks, but they made whatever they made out of it.
Did you feel any pressure or stress when you were doing all these different things?
I don't think so.
So you were pretty much calm throughout the war?
Oh yeah, it was. It's what you do. You're in a war, and you if they come and chunk you out, well, you try to fight back, and that's it. I mean, I think I was pretty good, and even over the period of time, and the having absolutely nothing else to do, you just did your job. And mine was to sit on the sound gear for half an hour for 4 hours, and then go to sleep somewhere.
What did you do on the ship for fun?
It's kind of interesting. When you're at sea, you didn't do much. You pretty well took care of what you were doing. But when we were in port, and when I say in port, like we were in an atoll where we'd be in the lagoon, and we had some fairly decent musicians, and they would sit around and play, and we would laugh and sing and tell stories. That was about it. There was one island, they had a party island. It was one that the Japanese had fortified, and when they made the invasion, the battleships and everybody else came along, and there was nothing left there. So the engineers, the Army engineers, came over. They dug a hole, shoved everything in it, and covered it up, and it was a barren island. But they had a thing looks like a shipping container, which was a refrigerator. It was a refrigeration container, and it was full of beer, and they kept it full of beer, and we'd go over there and have a few beers whenever it got into port, and that was it.
Did you do anything for good luck?
The what?
Did you do anything for good luck? Did you do anything for good luck?
Oh, not really. I probably had a rabbit's foot on my keychain. But that was it.
Besides going to the island, what else did you do on leave?
Well, they didn't have any. You're out there in those islands. There's nobody there but you, and a bunch of other guys like you. And you just don't do anything. But I've heard, when we were in, say, like Saipan, Saipan was kind of interesting. There was a lot going on there. There was an airfield where the B-29s took off from. They were bombing the Japanese mainland, or heartland then. And there was a couple of times we went out to sort of stand up picket out off the end of the runway where they took off in case one of them went in the water. We'd go over there if there was anything left and try to rescue anybody. Never did, but those airplanes, the airstrip was 2 miles long. It was a little bit downhill and into the trade wind. And those things, when they took off, were barely flying. And they'd drop off, there was about a 200-foot cliff, and they'd drop off and drop down to the water and take off and go away. But it gave you chills.
Were there any humorous events that happened while you were on your ship?
Nothing special that I know of. No, it was quite boring, really.
Did you make any friends while you were there on the ship?
I would say, you know, they were friends at the time, but and you know, they were your buddies. You know, if we ever had to find a place to go ashore, well, we'd probably go ashore together. But there was nothing like that. I was kind of a loner anyhow.
When there was someone's birthday on a ship, what would you guys do for it?
I'm sorry.
When there was a birthday on a ship, did you guys do anything special for it?
No. It was a new ship, a new crew. Nobody knew each other, and we just got on and found out what you're supposed to be doing and did it. It was a little bit interesting. The first ship I was on, the one that was in the Aleutian Islands, didn't have any radar, and the minesweeper that I got on had radar, and had a radar, and nobody knew how to run it. There was not a soul on that ship that knew how to run that thing. We knew how to turn it on, turn it off, but that was it. And we just figured out what it did and what it was supposed to do. And I got involved in that a little bit, but I did know what I was doing in the sonar anyhow. But anyway, that was.
Your wife mentioned something about guarding a ferry.
What?
Guarding a ferry?
When I got out of the school that I was going to for officer training, they sent me back to Bremen, Washington. And Bremen, Washington is about an hour's ferry ride over to Seattle. And there was, you know, several ferries that did it. This made this run. And when I got out, I came in, and another guy and I, we were let go from the school at the same time. And we got in there, and they said, "You guys are going on shore patrol," which, you know, that's the cops. So they give you this armband and a nightstick and a wet belt, and you go on out there. Well, they assigned me as a station on a ferry boat, and it happened. It was it was an old ferry boat, but it made the trip. This friend of mine, they put him in the ferry depot. When on the Bremen side, so that the people coming out from Bremen would get on it and go right over to Seattle. There was a lot of people that worked in the shipyard that lived in Seattle, and they would, you know, ride back and forth. And so they decided someplace along the line, it was long before we got there, that there would be one run, and it was around 4 o'clock in the evening when the people got off work, that they could come down, and no sailors got on the boat. And so they'd stop them, and we would stop them at the ferry depot. Well, which is fine, and so they took me off of it, and they put some Coast Guard guys got on for this one trip, and I'd go sit in the ferry depot. But it was just that one, and then probably 30 minutes later there was another one. Ferry came in, and I'd be sitting out there. Well, the shore patrol wasn't supposed to let a sailor get aboard the ferry boat with booze, you know, whatever. So they'd these guys would walk in, my buddy was on the gate there, and he'd say, you can't get on with that bottle. So, and he said, well, it's always the same thing. What am I going to do? He said, go talk to that guy over there. So he'd come over and ask me, and I'd tell him, okay, you've got a ticket. Go down to where the cars are going on, and when a car comes by that's got an extra seat in it, tell them what you're doing. You want to ride on, that's all. And 9 and 10, they'll let you get on. That's how they got on. But, and then you see the guys later and say, hey, thanks for that, So we got along.
Yeah. Did you keep a personal diary while you were in the Navy?
What?
Did you keep a personal diary?
No.
Were you in any other wars besides World War II?
No.
Do you recall when the day that your service ended?
Not really. I don't remember the actual thing, and I know I got off. I got my discharge up in Shoemakers up out of San Francisco somewhere. I'm not even sure where it is. But and my folks, my dad was a oil well driller, and he followed the rig, and so we moved around a lot. But we were living in Fillmore when I joined the Navy. But then he came back here, and while he was here, he came with valley fever. And the doctor told him one winter, he said, you'll never make it for another winter here. You better get out of here. Get out someplace where the air's a little better. So he and my mother got in the car and headed off. And he'd just go as far as till he found a job as a driller. And he wound up in Cody, Wyoming. And job, and he was a driller and everything. And and when I got discharged, that's where they were. So that's where I went. It was to Cody, and it was an interesting trip. In those days, you could take a train ticket and take it down to and cash it in at the train station. And then what I did was I started out on the train, and I got out where I got tired of that, so I got on, took my ticket, and traded it in for money, went over to the bus depot and ride the bus a while, and then I get out and hitchhike a while, and that's how I got over. But I recall that I was up in it was either Wyoming or maybe it was Idaho, someplace, and there was a young guy that he just got out of the Army, and we were riding along together and just talking one thing and another. And when we got it pulled into some town, and I said, well, I'm going to go over and get a beer. You want to go with me? And he said, they won't give me a beer here. I said, what's the matter? And he said, well, I'm an Indian. That's right. They don't serve Indians here. But it's one of those things. I thought it was not very good, but then again, I thought it was good too. That's the way things have gone.
How long did it take you to get home?
Oh, that was probably a week.
Even with the hitchhiking?
Yeah. Do what?
Even with the hitchhiking?
Oh, yeah. I didn't hitchhike a while. But you did, right? That's how we got anywhere. I did that in 2 or 3 trips that I had. Coming down from Seattle to San Diego, I did that. I stayed in Bakersfield for a week and a half. And then went down to San Diego, and I was the first guy in the group to get there. And I'd fooled around for a month getting there.
When you got to your parents, did you go to college?
Yeah, I went to Ventura JC and graduated from there. And then I went up to Colorado School of Mines, but they didn't accept a lot of my classes from Ventura. So I fooled around there for a while, then I just took off. Went to went to work in the oil field, and first one thing and another. But actually, I did all right. I went like working in the oil fields. I worked as a roughneck for a while, and I was down in Ventura, and I decided to go to work for Halbert, and I did, and I did quite well there. I was became a cementer in probably a year. Normally it takes about 5, but then they moved me up here to Bakersfield, and I was here for a while.
Did you get your degree while you were in college?
Yeah.
Was it supported when you went to college? Was it supported by the GI Bill?
I went in the GI Bill, but I did graduate from Ventura. I got an associate in art degree, but not in the School of Mines. I went there for about a year.
Oh, okay.
But they weren't accepting my transcripts from Ventura, so there's no need to fool around here.
Is there any friendships that you still have when you were in the military?
Probably, but I don't know. I had a cousin who lived here in Bakersfield, but he passed away several years ago, and we were pretty good buddies.
Do you remember his name?
Yeah, but,
Do you remember his name?
yeah,
What is it? Can you?
Robert Curtis.
Okay. Was there anyone else that you?
No?
Are you in a veterans organization?
Oh, Navy League.
When, after the war ended, did you just stay as drilling? When the war ended, did you just for your career, you did drilling?
No, actually, well, I did too. People. I worked in the oil fields for a while in Cody, and my brother bought a motorcycle, and then he decided to join the Navy, and left me there with the motorcycle. So, well, I got this stupid thing, so I'll go out and go back to California and see some of my old buddies there. So I did. I got on a motorcycle and rode out to San Francisco and saw this guy it was the same one that I was with up in Bremerton when we worked out of the ferry depot. And we, met him. We messed around for a while. Then I went off down to Ventura, and then we finally rode back to Wyoming. But I finally outgrew that.
Did your military experience influence your thinking about war?
I understand that I would make a lot of noise at night sometimes. Have bad dreams, but it wasn't special.
Do you attend any reunions for the Navy?
No.
Or what about for college or high school?
No. I haven't. I went to high school for I think a 50th or something like that. And that was 35 years ago.
Did your service experience affect your life at all?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm a kind of a nut at taking care of my own underwear, and which she's sitting back there.
I need to tell that one.
I guess I'm a kind of a nut on that. I don't like anybody to mess with my underwear but me.
His t-shirt drawer, he's got them labeled.
I have a collection. I think it's about 70 T-shirts in my rotation, and they're all from somewhere.
And they're folded perfect.
Did you get them when you were in the Navy?
Now I've been collecting them. I don't know, I've gone through probably a whole bunch of them was worn out and gone away. But now I probably got about 20 Hard Rock Cafe t-shirts. and some other weird ones. Some of them I can't wear in public.
Is there anything else that you would like to add to this interview?
I don't know.
Do you have any other stories you'd like to tell?
Well, but I'm not going to. Let's put it that way.
That's fair. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anybody gonna see this but him if he, he can tell that one?
Well, yeah, this is not live, I hope.
No.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you the story. It was when I was mailman. Yeah, it's